Alright guys, today I have a real oddball for us to diagnose. It's a 2009 Ford Escape and it has a problem with the left rear window. You use the switch back there in that door, in the left rear door, and it works just fine. Up, down, no problem at all. From the front master switch, I can raise it up, but I can never put it down. And the weird thing that happens is when I put it down, or I try to put it down, is first thing that happens is it overloads the master switch and has some protector in there. I think a circuit breaker or something like that, and it starts buzzing and it locks out any of the other windows on there, and it'll just buzz, buzz, buzz. I'll show you that. Also, what it does, hitting the down button, what I notice at nighttime is that the lights will go dim, the headlights will go dim. Alternator like almost full field, and it'll pull so much power from the engine it'll slow the vehicle down. It's really freaking weird, and obviously there's a concern where it's drawing too much amperage, therefore the alternator is going on, lights are going dim, etc. But you would think with that much amperage being drawn out of the system on there, it would, you know, start on fire, start smoking, blow a fuse, something like that. So I'm suspecting some kind of wire chafe or a crossing of circuits or resistance from corrosion somewhere. So we're going to go ahead and start diagnosing it, and I'm going to take you along. Got ourselves an expert here. Are you an expert in electrical? Because I need help. Okay, so the other night I was driving around and I took a little clip of exactly what this is doing. The noises, the lights going dim, slowing the car down, everything. So, take a look. Okay, so we're driving down the road, about 2,000 RPM, hit the rear window, and you can see it dims the car's lights way down, and you can actually slow the vehicle down because it's drawing on the alternator so much, and the alternator's going to like a full load on there, full field. Now, after you've tried to roll down this rear window a couple times, it'll stop dimming the headlights, and then it kind of like blanks out over here, and you get this noise. Anytime you try to roll down any of the other windows, and they're all locked out on there, and then they start working again. The other thing that happens once it's in that mode on there, where it's like a protection mode or it's faulty, like that, is you use the rear window, and see how it blanks out the switch over there, the illumination on it? So there's definitely some major weirdo electrical issues going on, so it should be an interesting diagnosis and find on here. Okay, so here's the wiring diagram for it, and we can see this is the master window switch right here. We have each one of them labeled, and what we're concentrating on is the left rear. So this is the rest position inside of the master window switch. So they're both going to have a ground whenever it's at a rest position. This is the ground, you follow it over, and it's getting its ground there. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to check and make sure that both of these have a constant ground back at the door. And then we're going to test up and make sure that this blue and orange wire right here flicks over and gets the positive. So we should have positive. This one stays negative. And then we're going to try down, which is this one. I'll go back to negative, the blue-orange, okay? And on our yellow wire, which will change as it goes through the connector down here, it'll change colors. That one should turn positive. So at first we're going to check for both being negative, then this one to go positive on up, and on the down, which is our actual problem, this one should turn positive as it flicks over and gets the power. So let's go to the next page. I'll show you how it changes color and all that stuff. Okay, on page 2 here, you can see a connector 314, which is over here. Our color is going to change to brown and gray with a violet stripe in it. So we're going to concentrate on pins 1 and pin 6. At first, we're going to make sure they both have a ground. Then 6 should turn positive on the up, and pin 1 on the down should turn positive. Now, forget the whole left rear window switch. This whole problem occurs whenever this is disconnected, which is a pass-through to the motor down here, and whenever the motor's disconnected also. So the motor, the switch, it's all taken out of the equation. It's wiring or the master switch, and like I said, the master window switch and the left rear switch here, the window switch, were swapped out with known good ones on another Ford Escape. They're not the concern on there. So we're going to concentrate on wiring. So let's go ahead and make sure pin 6 and pin 1 have a constant ground when the master switch is not being touched, and they can carry amperage. Okay, I pulled the door panel off the left rear door and pulled the switch out and everything so we can start testing the wires coming out of here. Now, of course, the first thing we'd do is check for any kind of corrosion on the wiring in here. There's a lot of times there's a lot of door water leaks that cause corrosion, these weird issues like this. Secondly, we're going to have a good power and ground coming straight from the battery. I have super long leads that go all the way up to the battery, so we have a reference. We got that, and then we have a window motor for my load test. This is a window motor from a Buick Regal from way back in the day, and we're going to use that to put some load on the system on here. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure it works. Always test your equipment. Boom. Works perfect, coming from the battery. So I'm going to take one of these leads, okay, that go to the window motor right here, our testing load device here, and we're going to give it straight power coming from the battery. So we have our reference power coming from the battery. And now, with the other lead, where's it at? Both pins 1 and 6 should have a constant ground according to the schematic when the master window switch is at rest. Right there we totally load tested the circuit for power and of course load carrying capability, and the same thing on 6. So both of those have our ground coming in. The next thing you need to do is make sure that they're both getting the positive when the window switch either goes up or down up front there. So we'll go ahead and we'll swap over our reference ground from the battery to the window motor, our testing motor here. And we should be able to get a positive from these to run the motor. So we'll go ahead and start with pin 1 first, right there, and that should be for down. And nothing, we're not getting nothing. Let's go over to pin 6, which is up on here, and we go hit the up switch. Let's see if it works then. Works no problem. So we definitely have a problem with just the down circuit, which is right here. And it's not the circuit itself, it's the circuit getting power, because the polarity reverses whenever it goes up or down on there. And we need that positive to come through for this window to ever go down on here. Okay, so we know both circuits are intact. They're providing the ground through the master window switch. When we press down, we're not getting the positive through that pin 1 on there. When we hit up, we're getting the positive through pin 6, which is correct. And of course, the ground is constant on pin 1. We checked that earlier. So our only problem in this whole circuit is that pin 1 and getting the positive. Why is the positive not getting back here? So the very next place all these wires go, the very next connector we can test is connector 314, which is in the front door, front A-pillar area by the door jamb there. And what we'll do, we'll disconnect that, and then we'll jumper from that connector over to the door here and make sure there's no opens, shorts, anything weird like that. And if we find a concern, we can go after the wiring that goes through the vehicle. Otherwise, we're going right up and into the actual master window switch. We'll disconnect that next, and we'll do a continuity check between that connector 314 to see why we're not getting that positive on that pin 1. Okay, I know it's pretty tight in here, but up here, here's that boot that I'm talking about. This is a boot that connects the door to the A-pillar connector harness in here. So we're going to pull this off of here. Hopefully you can see everything. This door return, this door check arm right here is in my way, so I'm going to take that off. If you ever take one of these off, you got to make sure that your door doesn't swing out too far, because you can actually go into your fender on there. Loosen that, get it out of the way, like that. We get a little more working room in here to start checking this out and pinning it out. Now we're going to have to pull this off of here, and these just snap in, usually at 2 to 4 points on here. So you get a cat claw, something like this, right? And you just get in here and be as careful as you can with the plastic and the paint, and you just start loosening them. Now some of them you're just going to have to force through. You see that one popped right there. And you just work them one at a time, so you know it can go back together. And these are just coming past, they're not actually breaking or anything. There we go. Okay, now let's see how this goes on here. First thing I do is I'll peel back the boot and inspect in here. These harnesses flex a lot going through the door jams here. Every time I open that door, especially in the driver's side, this was a real issue with these breaking inside of here on the Explorers and such. Not so much corrosion, but breaking and then stuff not working. We don't have that issue because we obviously can get that ground on both sides. So we're looking for a wire chafe or corrosion issue. So let's pull it out a little bit here. And right here is that connector. It's just a hasp on there. Pull it back, and these two come out separate from each other. So I'm going to loosen it from down here also. Okay. It just gives us a little more working room. There we go. See that? And we're going to pull this harness out of here just a bit so we can inspect it and get some working room to disconnect that right on there. Okay, now on here you can see there's a little tab right here, and that'll release the hasp on there. And what I'm wondering, guessing and hoping for, well, we know it's a wiring problem already, but is that there's corrosion inside of here, corrosion between the two connectors on here. It's all that water coming down, and this vehicle was in a left front accident some time ago. Oh, maybe not. What's that right there? What the frick? Jeez. That's yellow. That's bad. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know. What the heck is going on here? Oh yeah. Look at that. Alright, the other camera was flipping on about all the bright light. But look what we found. You adjust it there. Look at that. I mean, that's all jacked up in there. That right there is that yellow wire when it's yellow coming out of the switch heading out, and it looks like it's melted and fused to this one next to it here. If not, they're both just melted and they were obviously chafing on the inside of the vehicle in one of these harnesses in here. Okay, so that was really simple. It was a lot more simple than I thought it would be. I thought it'd be a little more interesting, like a module was flipping out with some big old corrosion inside of there. But it's very simple, and the problems like this that seem so weird and it's like, what's going on? It's usually something like a chafe or a ground that has failed. It's corroded, it's severed. There's some reason the ground is not adequate, and it causes all these weird issues like this. I just couldn't wrap my mind around it, just looking at diagrams and not going into it before I ever touched it, thinking, why can I roll it up just fine, but I can't roll it down? They're both using the same powers and grounds and the same two circuits going back. And we found the issue, found the reason why. Of course they can pass a ground through, no problem, because it's already shorting out and grounding out. You try to put power through that friggin' wire, and I still cannot believe it's drawn that much amperage straight short to ground, and nothing started smoking, because I've had it pressed down for a while before, figuring out what the heck is going on. So, no big deal. I'll fix the wiring, put some convolute on there and some friction tape, and get it all fixed up on here. Again, when you start having weird problems, don't just throw parts at it. Make sure you diagnose it first. This is a perfect example of that theory and that mindset.